hope you all feel refreshed and are ready for the next couple of panel discussions. So the next part of this morning will be around skills and the skills gaps. Before we move on, I would like to just do a quick reminder about our QR codes. So we do have the agenda and also our survey. So if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes to give us some feedback on this morning, that will really help to shape our future events in the UAE and across the region. Our next session is around building skills and talent for tomorrow's marketing teams. And this session is going to look at the must-have skills for modern marketeers, everything from data fluency to creative storytelling, and it's going to explore how to attract, upskill, and retain talent across an ever-evolving industry. I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Tamir, SVP of Digital Adjacencies and Devices at EAND. Dr. Tamir has been responsible for all of the non-teleco transformational lines of the business. It's a very important job, Dr. Tamir. He manages a portfolio of digital products, services, and assets for EAND across the 6 main pillars and revenue streams. I'd like to welcome Yasmin Hassan, GM of Turkey EG ZA, Africa? South Africa, and Minat AM lead. Yasmin is a visionary senior executive and a certified leadership coach with over 2 decades of experience driving meaningful impact across e-commerce, digital transformation, and organizational development. Yasmin's a proven track record of turning business units into resilient, profitable engines of growth. So welcome, thank you. And Asan Butt, Regional VP of Tech Delivery at RAP. Asan has a passion for solving complex business challenges and building robust operational processes and teams. Take a seat, guys, take a seat. So this session is very much around kind of what are we doing as marketers in industry to build skills and talent for tomorrow's marketing teams. I just wanted to do a quick one-liner question with each of you. I'm going to ask you the same question. In one word, what's the most important skill for the marketing team of tomorrow? Dr. Tamir.
Speaking the language of the machines.
Okay, excellent. Speaking the language of the machines. Yasmin.
I'd say cultural intelligence.
Cultural intelligence. There's a book that's just prompted me to talk about a book that I recently read called The Culture Map by Erin Miles. If you haven't read it, it really does explore different areas of culture and how you can integrate with different cultures to get what you need out of them. And actually just a change in that communication really does mean there's an increase in output. I'm sure you've read that one. Yeah. Asan.
For me, it's adaptability.
Adaptability. That's a really important skill. It's definitely something that we need. So talking of future ready, Yasmin, what are the non-negotiable skills that every modern marketer must have in the next 2 to 3 years? Now, you just mentioned cultural intelligence, so I'm guessing you might want to elaborate a little bit on that one, but if not,
100%.
you kind of bring in a bit more.
100%. So, very good question. Thank you for that. I think when we talk about skills, we have 2 different types of skills. So we have the technical skills and we have the soft skills, correct? Like, when we look at marketeers, we want to look at what they can bring to the table, but what can we also give them back, correct? So from a technical perspective, I would say, data literacy, basic AI and ML applications and understanding in the marketing world. I would definitely say also data, privacy, and regulatory first approach, because the world is growing and the boundaries are becoming less and less fluid. There's a lot of data and privacy needed, and we need to be savvy. Marketeers are required to understand in which realms they are operating to become more successful. And then you have the soft skills, and on the soft skills, definitely it's the cultural intelligence. The reality is that today when marketeers operate, let's say in the UAE, they don't just cater to a certain population or a certain market or one specific type of audiences. Personally, I live in Dubai, but I use Korean skincare products. So I eat South Asian food. I drive a German car. So marketeers are expected to really go beyond the geographies and the borderlines of the territory and really understand and connect with the brands and the value of the brand to sort of like communicate smartly, whether it's through AI or whether it's through a creative narration to reach out to their audiences.
Yeah, that's really important. And like you say, being able to reach out to those audiences, you do need that cultural intelligence, but you do need, your soft skills are part of core of that cultural intelligence.
100%.
I think, anyway. It's definitely something that you can explore for sure. Dr. Tamir, when we were speaking earlier, you spoke a lot about, you know, uplifting existing skills and overcoming resilience. What can you share with us about how you've incentivized your teams to embrace new tools?
First, I would like to thank you for the topic because this is one of the most important topics because technology in general will continue to evolve. And the thing is, it's a race, right? And we can see that machines and AI and robotics are going to take over. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't think so because humans will always be leading. But if you don't become part of the system that is evolving and growing as an individual, then you have a huge challenge at any age. So it's not becoming for Gen Z or for different age groups. It's becoming for everyone. And accordingly, it's very important whether it's within an organization or within even individuals to make sure that you are uplifting the skills continuously, you're up to the trend, you're understanding what's going on, and you are educating yourself continuously. Whether by force, when things are having to happen like trainings and courses, or willingly, where you set like a half an hour per day for yourself in order to ensure that you are up to what's going on and what the trends are. Within the organization, it's a bit of a challenge because it's not about top down. So you force courses and you force training and you spend on training for the employees, but they don't attend, or whenever they attend, they are not that focused. And the outcome of the investment and the ROI that takes place from an organization is not up to the level of the investment. So we face some challenges in how we can change the mindset, which is the most important element. How we can make people speak the language of today, speak the language of machines so that it can translate in something that is very effective. And one of the exercises that I would love to share, and we have done it and it yielded massive results, was we created what we call the AI hackathon. And the whole objective was that the team gets their hands dirty with the tools, they try them out. We did this psychological security where, you know what, there is no problem if you go wrong or if you mess up or if you do something that is not up to the organization standard. We want you to try. So we created these random groups. It was totally random, so we got people to work together. And each group decided to come with an initiative that would use AI tools end to end. And their knowledge before that session on the AI tools was zero. Nobody knew anything about these tools. And the outcome of this exercise and what came out is that these 10 groups have developed things that they never thought before the sessions that they could ever develop. So some of them did some coding, some of them did some videos, some of them did some scripting, and it was amazing for everyone. It was fun. Everybody started learning, and from that point on, we saw a complete uplift in the way they deliver their traditional day-to-day activities. So it was a good exercise, and I would urge everyone to try it out within their organization.
It sounds like you had so many benefits from that, and one of the key ones being the confidence, you know, a lifting by hosting that hackathon and by giving your team the opportunity to do something different. You know, you mentioned coding, for example, that they've now got the confidence to be able to implement that in their skills and in their day-to-day role. Asan, you're in an agency, so we've heard from kind of the very much brand perspective, and you know, you've worked, you know, on AI practical elements for your team, and you know, for I guess more of the prompting on how to prompt AI and training around prompting AI. But what did you learn about bridging that gap between tech fluency and creative fluency while trying to do the prompting?
Yeah, so I think the main thing to identify and understand is that creative fluency drives and accelerates technical fluency. It's not the other way around. And when we talk about bridging that gap, we're not going to bridge that gap by making our creatives more technical. It's not going to happen. It's about helping our creatives understand that technology, AI, is an extension of their creative path. And that's how we bridge that gap. When we started in our agency, obviously we serve a lot of customers, so we have a variety of marketeers and creatives in our teams. We started with actually in a way that we wanted to teach them the technical know-how first. And we realized very quickly that that's not resonating with our creatives, that they're not learning, they're not understanding why they have to understand what an LLM does or how does the processing works. So we flipped the script, and we actually started working with the teams on firstly explaining how they are already using AI in their day-to-day life. So things like Grammarly, that is predictive AI, or when they get a prompt from Google about at 6 p.m. saying that the traffic is heavier on your route to home than usual, they didn't realize that that's predictive analysis happening in the background. And then we started working with them on the problems that they're trying, the creative problems that they're trying to solve actively, and then bring the art of prompting. So we did a course called the Art of Prompting, and that allowed them to think, about the problem they're trying to solve, explain it in their natural language, and then also learn how they can explain that to an AI model in a way that it captures the essence of creativity, it captures the the technical complexities, but it's not generic. It's specific, and they can work with that. And that really, really clicked, where people understood, especially marketeers, they understand now in our teams how to prompt, how to speak to an AI model, how to be specific and not give generic outcomes, and how to really work on that critical thinking alongside the model, so it's an extension of their work.
That's a really interesting point. And in the other panels that we've seen this morning, the prompting has come up. It has been a key part of the other panels as well, and that the importance of prompting, and that we know this, what we feed in is what we get out, but actually not being able to lose that creativity by doing that prompting. So I think it's great that you're working with your teams on their prompting skills, especially at that lower level. Talking of kind of younger marketeers and lower level, Yasmin, as we know, younger marketeers have got very different expectations from work. But how are you adapting what you do to keep younger talent engaged in your organization?
100%. I think what we do is we basically we double down on a growth-focused environment. For instance, we do multiple rotations across markets, across orgs, across geographies, just to give them a wider era to experience different markets, different problems, different customer experience, and become even more adaptable. We also have a lot of mentorship programs and reverse mentorship programs, which I personally is a very big fan of. I've personally learned a lot from folks I've started initially mentoring, and then I realized that they've tackled a certain problem in a very creative manner, and I kind of took that and sort of replicated it in our locales, and it worked fantastically. We also do a lot of simulations. Just to what Dr. Tamer said, we create trainings for a couple of days where we induct simulations with different business groups, and we tell them that this is the scenario, run with the business, break the system. It's a very safe environment. Don't worry, it's not about failing or succeeding, but it's a safe space to operate where in reality you cannot operate, to break the rules, to break the limits, to test new things, to reverse engineer perceived dogma, and see where that would take us. The results were fascinating because in some instances the results and the data showed us that preconceived notions or the way we used to operate needed to be changed. And the data was super clear. The growth was there. Where our investments were showed that what we're currently doing isn't the right thing to do, and we should relook at how we build the entire business model, how we tackle even tools. Why are we building those tools and how we build them, where our investments go in. And some other results actually taught the people who were in the simulation why business decisions are being made in the way they are made. When you have an OPEX constraint and when you're asked to deliver a lot with little resources, how are you going to think about it? And this is where definitely technology and AI comes into play. It's not a replacement of our talents. It's an extension of our talents. It's an enabler for them to multiply themselves and to even perform better tasks at a more elevated level without having to consistently worry about like, how am I going to do it? Why am I going to do it? They really, really get it, because if you're going to achieve this bar with very limited resources and a constrained infrastructure, you're going to get creative.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you.
I fully agree with Yasmin, because the thing is, if it's not about changing the whole team and bringing another team that has the skills. It's if you don't uplift these skills, it's useless whatever you are investing in the tools. So you can bring the best AI systems, but if you don't change the people who are running these, it would become a failure. And 80% of, there was a recent survey by PwC, is that 80% of the CEOs worry for the future growth is around the skills and how to develop the skills of the people in the organization.
And you've got the talent, right? You don't have the specific talent, but you've got people in your teams that want to learn and want to learn more. So the upskilling is just as important as bringing in specialists, because that talent that you've got will become those specialists with the skills that you're providing them with in your working ways. Can I just get a quick show of hands on reverse mentoring? So that was something that I kind of picked up on that you do, Yasmin. You do a lot of reverse mentoring. Does anyone do reverse mentoring in their organizations? Just a couple. I was expecting to see a lot more of a show of hands there. Yasmin, what's the benefit for you? What do you learn from reverse mentoring?
Personally, you learn different skills, and you learn to pay attention to the things that you thought were very basic knowledge, and they're not. And then you also see the problem from a different perspective and from a fresh lens. And then the solutions that sometimes are available, you wouldn't have, they're so simple, they're right out there, but you're so caught up in your own sort of like mental model that you become your own blocker, and you think that the way you do business or the way you would tackle that problem is the right way, and here you are, you want to mentor that person, but in reality, they found a better solution in a faster way. They've used a certain product or a certain tool. They've looked at it differently. They had a different subset anyways of data points. They were solving backwards from an existing customer problem that you didn't interact with, or you didn't even think that could exist. And here you are, you have a totally different blueprint of solutions that you can actually take and run with. Of course, you're going to iterate and you're going to work on, you're going to make sure that it fits your teams and your business objectives and your customers' needs. But it's very important to listen, to actively listen, even when you are mentoring someone, because you are being mentored at the same time.
And that bit must really empower.
Yes, 100%.
And obviously empowerment leads to retention.
100%.
Right? Which I guess that leads me on to my next question. Asan, retention in agencies is difficult.
Yes.
You know, we know this. What's your biggest challenge for keeping marketers in your agency, but also, how are you addressing that?
So for us, we've actually, if you look at our last two and a half years, we've grown by 370%. It's huge. Every project brings more people in, and we have more and more youngsters coming in, and that's not just for marketeers, across the board. The biggest challenge that we see, or I see specifically today, is the relevance anxiety. So it's youngsters, graduates, interns, juniors coming in and thinking, will I become obsolete? Right? By the time I get to 5, 7, 10 years of experience, all I'm learning is going to be done by AI. And it's fair, because you can see AI automating tasks. We are seeing tools and platforms are changing rapidly. And we're seeing skills are becoming commoditized, right? Like, it's a difficult space to be in. A lot of times when I'm doing the PDPs or the one-to-ones, the question I get asked is, the skills that I'm working on now, will they be relevant in 3 to 5 years? It's a tough question to answer. So my approach towards that is there's 3 things in my team that we do. Number 1, the AI fluency is a non-negotiable. So in our day-to-day work, we promote people using AI. For simple basic tasks, we have achieved 10 to 15% operational efficiency was part of our organization goal as a consultancy. Obviously, we want to be more efficient on using AI note taker or using Copilot, ChatGPT in some instances to do internal tasks to make sure that we are, we're teaching people how to use it for their fundamentals. And it's not, the difference is a lot of times I've seen in previous organizations, you do one-off workshop on AI and you say, yeah, we've done AI fundamentals. We're not doing that. We're kind of forcing people to use it in their day-to-day lives. The second strategy that we implement is we are moving away from teaching people platform tactics and over to strategy. So how can they, work on human behavior understanding, writing compelling storytelling, right, and building narratives that can connect with individuals or learn data insights and be able to read them. And the third thing, which kind of brings them both together as part of their personal development plans, is combining number 1 and number 2 with what is going to be their career progression. And it's not going to be, hey, spend 5 years with us and we're going to promote you into something, but it's what is the area that you're most interested in? How can we use AI and technology that we have available, plus build the strategic thinking and get to you to your goals the fastest. In the world of agency, the sad truth is that people will always leave. There's a high churn rate. But as a leader, I feel it's our responsibility, especially in today's day and age with everything changing so fast, that we ensure that people who are leaving our organization are more capable and they are future ready. I think we owe that to our younger generations, especially with us spending 10, 15, 20 years in the industry. We've seen the revolution. We want to make sure that we give it back to them and make sure that they're ready. So in their next job, they do better than how they started with us. So that's the kind of approach and ethos that I've kind of adopted and we've adopted as an organization. I think it works really well because it promotes more youngsters to come in and work with us.
And like you said, it's ever changing, right?
Absolutely.
3 to 5 years, it's ever changing. It really is. You mentioned data in that, and Dr. Tamer, I know you do a lot around data. How do you ensure that creativity isn't lost when your teams are under pressure to deliver data-driven results?
This is a very good question, actually. And the thing is, there is a misperception that data affects creativity, which is not true. And in fact, it's the opposite. It's a sort of complementing element where the more data you have and the more insights you have and the more understanding on the customer and the customer insights and the customer needs, this is where the point happens where creativity comes in place. 44% of the current skills are going to shift by 2027. And one of those that are going to grow, not to shift, is the creativity part. So the creativity is something that you need to make sure that you are fueling up and you're always feeding the team in order with tools and elements in order to help them to become more creative. So I don't see it as that the data-driven organization or organization works on data would be the least creative. In fact, it would be the winning element because it would save you money in terms of targeting. It would save you money in terms of understanding what the customer needs are and who's your customer and how to address them and what language do you need to speak to them, especially with the clutter and what you have been mentioning in the previous session around the number of ads that we are exposed to. All of this requires data, and it does not only requires data, it requires precise data and accurate data, and it requires extracting knowledge out of these massive amounts of data, utilizing AI or the tools available in order to deliver the right message to the right customer whenever it's relevant. So even timing makes a big difference. So if I'm not in the right mood and I receive an ad that is just something that of interest to me, it will not have the effect. So even capturing the right moment for the customer is very important. And accordingly, we even build our strategy around the moments that the customers are in and how to address these customers.
Yeah, very much so. Talking of creativity, Yasmin, can creativity be taught?
Well, this is going to come a little bit controversial, but 100% it can be taught because people have natural or different inclination towards creativity. Some people are visually creative, right? And we tend to think when we hear creativity like artists or, but the reality is you have also a subset of people who are very creative in problem solving. And that requires a very distinct view of the problem itself and how you're going to tackle it. So, and I mean, personally, the way in my team we promote creativity is basically on building scalable mechanisms that tackle the same problem but from multiple angles and keep on coming to better results in a faster way, in a scalable way, in a more measurable manner, and in a manner that really resonates with all stakeholders. So for me, creativity can be taught 100%. We have a leadership principle called invent and simplify, and it exemplifies creativity. It's a muscle that can be strengthened via different mechanisms and robust SOPs. But also this muscle can be strengthened, by teams watching their leaderships and their team members and their mentors live in action. They can take a lot from the way those people are looking at the problem and the way they are tackling it and the specific subset of data that they consider before taking any decision.
And one more element which is very important is killing the fear of failure. So if everybody in the organization is afraid of doing mistakes or failing, it kills creativity big time. So the moment you build the organization about it's fine to fail as far as you recover and you get the learnings out of it, creativity fuels up.
It's funny that you say that. I spent the weekend with my nephews, right? One is 2 and one is 6. And we very much as a family have an ethos of that there is no failure. And it's weird how at a young age, you're taught a safe space, have no fear of failure, and then as we grow and we're in organizations, all of a sudden this fear of failing just comes in from somewhere. And I guess that the way that both of you guys, and Hassan, I'm sure that you guys do this as well, creating that safe space where failure is important and actually we do learn from failing better than we do getting it right. I think it's great that you're fostering that as businesses.
We call it fail fast. So fail fast. Yeah, fail fast. So
fail fast and fall fast.
Yeah, exactly. We actually have, we celebrate failure. We have sometimes nominations for, like big projects, big ideas that failed. And it's very important, as you said, like for the teams to understand that in order to become creative, you're going to have to fail. You're going to fail a lot, but fail and fail fast, right? And I think like where organizations talk about failure, of course we're not setting our teams and our talents up for failure.
Of course not.
But we're giving them the right space by being very prescriptive, by really explaining what a two-way door decision means, right? Like, where can you operate, where can you fail, and teaching them how to realize that this is a safe space. For instance, it doesn't impact my customer, it doesn't involve legal, and it doesn't alarm public policy. Then anything in between, I can test, I can experiment, and even if I fail, then I have a story, like I did this because I wanted to solve for this problem, this is where we were constrained, that was the bottleneck, this is the strategy, and yeah, it failed because along the way we realized that those components weren't looked at, and sometimes life throws curveballs at you and you're going to have to face them, and that's okay. I mean, I have an example. When we launched Turkey, we've built for massive demand, but we didn't have the right supply. In all honesty, like our infrastructure was so limited. And what did we need to do? Teams, before becoming creative or before acting creative, they should be autonomous and they should act as owners. There's so much on them as there are on the companies and the organization, right? So I'm going to give you the space to be creative and to fail and to learn, but you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to be an owner. You're going to have to want to fail. You're going to have to want to come up with ideas and say like, hey, this is the problem. This is how we're going to solve it. Might fail, but guess what? if we succeed, 1, 2, 3 are the outcomes. You need to be really, really, really very lucid and a true owner in that sense. And in Turkey, when we launched, and we quickly realized that we had a bottleneck, the team came up with a very, I would say, creative solution to address this demand problem. And we started working with multiple independent agencies, and we started building like packages, and we came up with this project called Project Extend. And quickly it became like a global project coming from the most nascent launched locale at Amazon. But when it scaled, we realized that we had big OpEx problems, because the construct of this solution was very much local and nascent based. And then we were faced with another problem. And the likes of the USS and Canada and Mexico turned back to us and to my team and said like, hey, fix the problem, because your solution became a problem for us. And then the team went back and said, yes, we did not think about scale, we did not factor it, but okay, listen, this is what we're gonna do. We pivoted immediately to AI, and then we created an actual persona that is called Extend, where sellers and vendors can interact with, learn about ads, plug in their campaigns, and scale across locales without having us to rely on third-party vendors or pay expenses or fees. And just from the multiple iteration, from a big failure, we achieved a global success.
That's a really great example of how you're empowering autonomy as well.
Yeah, I just want to add a different angle to this, because sometimes it's not your idea that fails. Sometimes it's the market that's not ready. Yeah. So an example of that is, when I was growing up, the first smartphone came out. It's called iMate. I don't know if anyone knows about iMate. Yeah? iMate used to be...
showing ages now in the room.
Right. So iMate was a touch screen, big screen with keyboard phone at the time where Nokia was killing the market. And it was a big flop. So it was iMate Jazz Jar and a Jazz Jam. There's 2 models that ever came out. And it's better than anything that iPhone can ever be, comparatively. But it was a huge flop because the market wasn't ready. The market wanted flip phones, or they wanted like small keyboards, and everything should be small. So you can look at it as a company that failed massively, or you can look at it that their time wasn't right. The market wasn't ready. So it's important to do retrospectives of things more holistically. And sometimes from marketing perspective, an idea didn't fail. It's just the market that you're targeting is not ready for it. And I think that gives people a different perspective. And I think it's important for us as leaders to provide that perspective and allow people to retry with the same ambition that they had the first time and see if it works the next time.
Yeah, it's another great example. I'm sure that we could talk about this. I know I could talk about this topic all day, and I'm sure that everyone could, because it's such an important part of skills. But Dr. Tamer, there's one bit that, as we're closing, there's one bit that you said earlier that's really stuck with me, and you were saying that you put on trainings, you've done this hackathon, and actually sometimes the challenge to upskill teams is the people, and not the people in the organisation providing the training. It's the people actually attending the training and taking responsibility for their own professional development. So I'd like to ask each one of you, what's the one thing or one skill that you would like to develop in?
Learning agility.
Agility.
Yeah, learning agility. Because this is very important, because the thing is, learning is a never ending exercise as far as human beings are alive and are on earth. And it continues. And those who don't have the ability to learn in different fields, and whatever they learn out, they use it and practice it in other elements and other industries, whether it's personal or business or professional life, they would struggle, because by time, all what you have been learning gets obsolete. So this is a challenge that goes across. So you have to have this learning agility, and you have to continuously be learning as you move.
Yasmin, what do you want to learn?
100%. I'd say like curiosity. I'd always want to be curious. I'd always want to, look around corners and try to understand what's next, what is possible, what is not possible, and why. I think the why and the how are very, very important in this day and age. And really like thinking big. More often we're constrained by if you want, our cerebral understanding, and we have limits. But in reality, we need to think of scenarios where we don't have headcount constraints, we don't have technology constraints, we don't have border constraints. Like, what can we achieve? And we can achieve a lot. And all the big tech companies and all the mega service companies started from those ideas that had no constraints, that had no borders, and now they became global. And hey, we're exploring the moon, and Mars, and soon we're all gonna probably have a conference up there. And nobody thought that that was possible, like maybe 5 years ago, but it is possible. So I would like to learn to think beyond borders.
That's really nice. I like that. Hassan?
For me, I think it's psychological intelligence, which is a step beyond emotional intelligence. And it's important because, I come from a background of AI and data, and any model that you train is somewhat a reflection of you. It's the data that you feed it, the biases that you have somewhat go into that. And if you look at go back to your ChatGPT or Claude, and just ask, what is the overview of my prompts emotionally, and it will actually tell you the data. And so psychological intelligence goes beyond just people. It also how you're dealing with machines, and machines that are actually becoming a reflection of you. When you're doing generative engine optimization, which is a step beyond search engine optimization, you will see that your websites, your platforms are being picked up based on what you're teaching the LLM models. So it's very, very important to find that balance between machines and human beings. And at the end of the day, an AI model is a replication of human brain, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do neural networking in a complex way. And so learning that, for me, it's a skill that I think we'll always have to evolve and continue learning. And it also allows us to connect with our next generations, right, on how they're thinking, how we can provide them psychological safety and connect with them emotionally, but also strategically, and teach them the ways that the market is moving towards and the trends. So for me, it's a tough but a vital still.
Absolutely, and I think we're so stuck in performing for our teams, managing our teams, performing for our clients, that learning something new does come last, unfortunately. And it's the same with PR. A lot of the time, a business's PR comes last, or their marketing comes last, even though that's exactly what you do for a day job, is marketing. So I think it's just take a step back and actually remember that we do need to continue learning, to continue to empower and develop our teams. Thank you so much, panelists.
And if you allow me for one last one, is that it's no more that education and uplifting skills is exclusive to HR departments. That's not there anymore. They are just a facilitator. The responsibility lies in the leaders, and the responsibility lies in each and every individual.
Absolutely, and leaders are leaders to empower their teams to retain that talent, and people leave people at the end of the day, and the human resources team have got nothing to do with your team when they decide to leave. So I think definitely taking responsibility to empower teams is really important. So thank you, panelists. Thank you very much for that session.